Turn it up.
You all did it. Week 12. Give yourselves a hand clap. You are. And I'm going to give you a fact. You're in the top 1% in the world of parents who've gone through a parenting program. 99% of the world who are parents have never been or never, well, let me say, have never finished an entire parenting program. And that puts you in that 1 percentile. And what happens to me and Holly, what happened to us, is it really, really made such a difference. When we started 26 years ago, every year going through a parenting program, then begin to lead it, and then begin to teach it, it is what we would say is the reason why we have such incredible, amazing, successful, honoring, loving, listen to us, obedient, awesome children. And we're excited to see that you are on the same path that we started 26 incredible, amazing years. We're in our flow chart, and today we're going to talk about number 3, consequences. How many of you know that life has consequences? This is. When you go outside of following the Word of God in your life, things just happen. That's why God gave us the Bible. He's like, hey, follow these things, and life is going to be better than if you don't follow them. And so life has consequences. So discipline is really teaching them life. You're teaching your children some life things here. That when I make bad choices, there are consequences. When I make good choices, good things seem to happen in my life. And so we're really trying to get on the inside of them that level 3 character where they're doing the right thing for the right reason. All right, E1 is pain. Pain. How many people know that God designed pain for good? Right? Can you imagine what our world would be if there was no pain? Right? If you touched like a hot stove and it just felt super awesome, amazing, you'd have like people like, woo! Like they'd be touching that stove, burning their skin all the way through, right? But God's like, no, don't touch hot stove. There's pain that comes when you touch a hot stove because you don't want to burn your skin. And so pain is something that is meant to deter us from doing something. And it's a deterrent. And so it's our thing as parents to be able to bring pain into the world to deter them. There's 2 types of pain. F2 is natural. Write down natural and F2 in your flow chart. So go back to running around the pool. We talked about that last week. So let's say one of my kids is running around the pool. I told them not to run around the pool, right? But they chose to run with their friends anyway. They fall. They get scraped up, right? I don't walk over to that child and put them over a knee and give them a spanking, right? Well, I told you not to run. No, because they already got their consequence, right? And so I use that as a trainable, teachable lesson, right? I go over, comfort them, love them, and then as they're getting comforted, I go, see, there's a reason why Dad says not to do certain things. Because I know, and I'm not trying to take your fun away. I'm really trying to make it so that you have more fun. And so when Dad asks you not to do something, that's the reason for. And so they got a natural consequence, but they also got something even better. They got a really good lesson in that, right? You got I had kids with I'm going to keep going on the cell phone thing, right? And they had their cell phone, and they'd love to flip it and catch it. Yes. What are we doing? Like it's a $500 phone. Who flips and catches $500 and just go, and I'm like, and you weren't even good at baseball. So I have a lot of problems with this, right? Right? But you flip it, and you didn't catch it, and now you got a cracked screen. That's a bummer. That's a natural consequence. Yeah, but my screen's cracked. I know. You know why my screen's not cracked? Because I don't flip my phone in the air and think that I'm going to catch it every time, right? And so, right, there's natural consequences in life. And I'm not going to alleviate that. If you want to get your screen fixed, that's going to be on you. You have to save up your money and do this, but I'm not going to rescue from that because you got yourself what's called a natural consequence. You're mad, you got upset. You know, boys sometimes, they get frustrated at a video game, and you broke a controller. That's a bummer. Natural consequence is you don't have a controller. That's your consequence. Can I use your controller? Absolutely not. You can't use Dad's controller. You know why? Because Dad doesn't break his controller anymore. I had to put that in there. Used to break my controller. Now I don't break my controller because I had enough natural consequences. And so, you'll have to save up your money and figure it out and learn how to control your anger and have self-control, learn to put things down. And so you bring those natural consequences into the world.
I want to say something really fast right here.
Sure.
It's going to feel, as a parent, you feel bad. You feel bad for them. And But feeling bad for them doesn't mean you make it better, right? But we want to because, we feel bad. They messed up, they didn't mean to, but it's so important. That's how we learn. That's how we realize, wow, I need to not do that thing that I did. It doesn't mean as parents that it's not going to make us go, oh. And I've had that feeling before where you feel bad and
just
you
wanna
want to
rescue
go
them.
out and make it better. You want to go and buy the thing that they lost because they're careless with it. You want to go and fix the phone because you feel bad and they now walk around with like a little hobo phone. But you can't.
You called it a hobo phone.
I'm always like, people think we're the worst parents in the world because not one, not two. I probably at any given time have had 3 kids at a time with like a crazy crack screen. And I'm always like, that looks awful.
It does.
And I want so badly to make it better and make
She
it
does.
right. And you feel terrible, but please, 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 if you didn't crack that phone, it's not your job to go and make it right now. You can still feel bad about it, but you're not a bad parent if you're not if you don't go fix it. It doesn't make you a bad parent to let them walk through that hobo phone.
And you take every incident going through the filter also, and like I said, child behavior and stuff. Savvy had her phone. Finally got her to the grade. I forget high school where she gets a nice iPhone. Right, she's getting out of the car, I guess, to go to school. Mom was dropping her off, and then she went in. And I guess about 37 cars ran her phone out over because it fell into the street and she didn't know it. And all the cars that were dropping their kids off just ran it over one by one by one by one. It was the craziest looking phone. But she's so good and amazing. Great kid, straight A's all the time. And I know to me it was an accident. It was childish. I put it through the thing. And I got her a phone. Now, if it happened again, because I had to talk to her and go, hey, honey, you got to be careful with your phone. I mean, this is an expensive thing. And so I need you to be, if it happened again, I'd go through the filter and go, well, now we got a flip phone. Enjoy your flip phone, amen? And so once again, remembering to go through the filter because you'll come up with different things for each child based on going through the filter. All right, so number 1 was pain. There's 2 types of pain. Number 2, F2 is natural. I told you F2 is natural. F3 is structural. Sometimes they do something and there's no pain. They do something and they got no pain. They ran around the pool and nobody fell. You told them not to, right? There was no pain in that. There actually was joy in that. And so our job is we bring the pain then. If life doesn't give you pain, then dad and mom are going to give you some pain. If I ask you to do something and you told mom and he goes, no, right? And that'll usually only happen like at a 3 that would never happen to us like at 8, 9, 10. That would be crazy in the train up a parent world. But they say no. Well, a 3 or 4-year-old might go no, right? Cool. There was no pain in telling me no until I brought pain into your world. I'm going to bring pain because if I don't bring pain at 3 and 4, then 8 years old and then junior high and high school get a lot of crazy, right? And so I have to make sure that I bring the pain into their world so that we can change the direction that they have. There's 3 types of ways that we bring pain. F4, right in logical. Logical pain, right? A lot of this has to do with grounding, different things, right? You bring pain by they're not getting good grades. Like we said, remove the phone. Yeah. Say, hey, when you get, I'll call every Friday your teacher. As soon as the grades are good, you'll get your phone back. Oh, video games are off, yep. Right? Oh, right? And right, the way you had an attitude with mom, yeah, I guess you can't handle video games right now. So if you can have a good attitude for 2 days, then you'll get video games back. And so it's logical. It makes sense, right? You come home late. Yeah. And I think I said this earlier on. If I say curfew is at 10 and you come in at 10:05, how many people know you're way late? So what's the logical consequence for that? Hey, next week, your new time is 9 o'clock because you can't handle 10. So now you get to come home at 9. Let me tell you this. If you can't handle 9, the next week it'll be 6. And when I say 9, I mean be home at 8:45. That's what I mean. I don't mean be here at 9 because I'm training you for a job one day. And if you're on time, you're actually late. That's how Andersons do things. So 9 o'clock means be home at 8:45. That way, if you have some sort of thing happen and there's traffic or who knows what happened, that you have time to still be there on time. And so it's a logical pain. It's painful, but it seems to be logical and it seems to makes sense. The consequence has to be greater than the reward. That's the big thing. Because there is a reward to being late. So what I'll see parents do is be home at 11, and they get home at 11:20, right? And then now mom or dad's just going to yell at you, right, for another 20 minutes. And they're like, I can do 20. I can handle 20 minutes of yelling. Yeah, I got to stay out later, right? It's no big deal. What's the big deal, right? They talk back to you, and it just meant that you yelled at them. You're like, okay. Like, they may not know it, but subconsciously, the reward was greater than the pain. So how do you judge that? Well, if you did something and said, hey, be on time, and then the next week they were late again, and the next week they were late again, it just means that your pain wasn't greater than the reward. If they keep talking back to you, then you haven't brought a level of pain that's going to change direction. So I just got to up the pain meter just a little bit so that I can make sure that I change it. Took their phone away, and grades, nothing happened with the grades.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to raise the level of pain because we have not deterred you from the, I haven't disciplined you, mean I haven't changed your direction.
The one I love is, they throw a fit in the store, they just, start acting up in the store, really crazy behavior, and you leave. Well, you just gave them what they wanted. So I always took them outside and was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and let you do your thing, and we're going to remove you from any audience, and then we're going to go back in, and this trip to the store took twice as long. So making sure, again, that what they're doing, that the consequence is greater than the reward. They want to leave the store. They don't want to be where we're at.
Right.
So they wanted to get out of there. So, me leaving and putting them in the car and driving off all huffy and annoyed with them was, they were okay with that. They were like, okay, got her out of the store. So I just started, we'll go back in then. We'll finish. So I just put my cart to the side, let whoever I need to know that we'll be right back. And then we would go right back.
And because you shouldn't get the punishment. That's what sometimes parents do. They take all the punishment.
Yes.
You don't need to change your direction. You need to change their direction. And as we said over the past 5, 6, 7 weeks, was finding their kryptonite. You have to find what changes direction. If what you're doing isn't changing direction, then you're going to have to figure out something else. That's not discipline. Discipline changes direction. I have to be able, especially in the younger years, and those of you who have young kids, I know some of you have older kids, you're like, oh no, right? That's fine. But your window, if you'll discipline hard in a sense and bring pain and change direction, then those habits will change fast. And hopefully you've been doing what we said, giving them 4 or 5 weeks to be able to go, that's going to be trouble in a couple of weeks. And you should be at the place now in this program where now we can begin going through the flow chart and begin to apply some pain into their life.
Well, I want to add that, we had 5 kids, so we had a lot of practice. We had a lot of kids to practice on, and with each child, I think we got better at this,
we did.
Right?
Poor Lakin and Heath.
Really,
they were our guinea pigs.
Really, yeah.
We're like, let's give that a go.
Because we gave them a whole bunch of bad habits, and then we had to, give them pain to get rid of those bad habits.
Yes, extra.
But by the time we got to the other 3, I can honestly say where we're at, this night, this part of the program, I can honestly say is virtually nil for the other 3.
Yeah.
And
But we really dealt a lot when they were young. When they're 0 to 4, if you really are on top of that, then you're just coast. It's just coasting.
And creative. I think as you're talking, and you were talking about making, the consequence greater than the reward, I think we got creative too and got really good at paying attention to the individuality and the different personalities of our kids. And I think we really honed in on that. Okay, this is recurring. What do I need to do to help change that direction? They're 4 or 5. And I think we really took the time when the last 3 were younger to do some of this stuff and to really be mindful to take my time. Oh, that's so hard to take your time and to really think, okay, I'm going to implement something right now for this infraction so that I don't ever have to do it again. And so I can honestly say that the last 3 kids, this session, I probably don't even remember it. I remember, but it's less because we were, careful about it. So if you have little guys, it's great. You're hearing it. You're hearing the information now. And
it's going to make junior high school easier.
Yeah.
And if you're having trouble with some kids, just keep having kids. By the time you get to the 4th or 5th,
well,
it's cake. I'm telling you.
That's not what I meant, but
All
I
right.
do feel bad for the older two.
F5 is
You
isolation.
know what we were doing.
This isolation is very rare. I don't, like, very rare, and usually it's just when you're dealing with a toddler or stuff, and as we've been teaching you, right, with the fits, when they're 2 and 3 years old, simply go to your room till you're done, right? That's isolation. What I like about go to your room till you're done is, once again, they have their get out of jail free card. They know, they said how long you're in there. You can be in there all day, I don't care. Come out when you're done with your fit or tantrum. And what will happen is they're learning to control their emotions. And so that's, to us, isolation. But Holly's done some really neat things. Sometimes she's creative with it when the kids fight, right? Like and Heath are battling. So then she's like, all right, guys, sit on your bed, right? Until you all can get along for a while.
Well, they didn't get to have friends if they didn't get first along with each other. So
Right.
anything in the weekend, it just didn't happen if they didn't get along with one another in the household. So that was mandatory for me. You can't talk nice to so-and-so. You can't talk nice to this brother. Well, then we're not going to go and, make nice with, everybody else. So let me see you and your great skills in this household. And then I'll go ahead and allow, friends and whatever else. But yeah. They have to get along. And I would then require them. And it turned into being funny and laughing and whatever, because I would make them link arms, or I don't even remember. They're so much older now. But I would make them go and play with each other. And I would actually make them, one of the times I made them say 4 nice things about the other person. Mm-hmm. And that got really funny because, they're trying to come up with stuff. And then by the end of it, they're laughing and they're ganging up together on me. And it was great because then I was able to go see, you enjoy each other. So go, knock it off, and don't come back and do what you were doing.
And remember, cultivating, friends will come and go, but families forever. And we were big on cultivating that this is your best friend. You guys, you can have friends. Yeah, I love you. You have friends. Great. Those friends more than likely won't really be in your life in 5 or 10 years, but your brother will be in your life for the rest of your life. And we're best friends. You'll be best friends for your whole life. And that's what we have cultivated in the family of constantly. That to us is a major thing is that our children love one another. That's the practice place of life. And so we don't get to be mad. We don't, Jimmy's not talking to Johnny for a couple of days. No, that's unbiblical. Don't let the sun go down in your anger. We forgive quick. Anderson's let go of things quick. We say sorry. Like, this is what we do. Because once again, Holly didn't want to raise a house that, like, one kid's like, well, I'm not coming over, so-and-so is going to be there. No. As a family, we love and live to get together. That is what everything we did pointed towards when the kids were younger. All right, finally, now, for those of you that are step-parents, right? You're step-parents, you got blended family, those things. These, all the way to F5, this is your world of really trying to navigate this thing. Because F6 is spanking as we get into F6. So whether or not that's up to you and what things you have in your home, how long, maybe you've always been that kid's parent, since they were a baby, even though you're stepdad. And so you all need to navigate that, right? But for the rest of us, F6 for us was an incredible tool. I was spanked as a child, and I look back, and it was good. It changed my direction. That level of pain did. When you spank, done correctly, will make a difference. Done incorrectly will do more damage. And so we have to make sure, and we can't believe the lies of the world. Well, kids who are spanked are the ones that hit. No, kids that maybe are spanked incorrectly, I would agree, they would be the hitters. But most of the time, the hitters are the ones that had no discipline. That's most of the cases if you go to a school. The kids that have no discipline in their life are the ones that are hitting, they're biting, they're doing those things. Kids that are spanked in a proper manner, they're not. Of course not, because you'll get a spanking if you hit, right? So the pain is what changes the direction. And the way the process works properly is it's like a funnel. When they're younger, there's going to be more spankings. As they get older, there's none. I mean, couldn't even tell you. Obviously, Peyton and Savvy, neither one of them have gotten a spanking since they were maybe 3 or 4. couldn't even tell you. Like, they haven't got one. Now, Baylor got one we argue about it because he feels like he should have got one. This is our disagreement. He got one when he was 13. And I still stand by it, but he wants to argue with me that it was not a good one. I'm like, man, but it changed direction, so I think it was still a good one. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say when we're talking about little guys, for the little ones,
It's not a full-blown, and we talk about that
Yeah,
intensively in the thing. You know, for a 2-year-old, I don't go through the whole process of a spanking. It's usually just a little boop, just a little
like
bit of pain.
like a little
It's just a
swat
little.
on.
It's just a little boop. That's all that it is.
Well, and for little ones, I think just the fact that you know,
Bring a little pain. Yeah.
I don't even think that, to be honest with you,
yeah.
I don't think there's any pain. I think it's literally like just kind of surprising, right? Like, have you ever seen like a little 2-year-old and you swat their little, you know, booty, and they're like, you know, they give you that little face, and they know you're frustrated, they know you're mad, they know you're upset. So I just wanted to say that because I don't know that I've ever. Yeah.
And I know we talk about the book, and I'm going to take a half step backwards because we got a little bit of time here. Is especially when you're dealing with 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, you can get into what's called a power struggle with a spanking. Right? And I did this early on, and then I learned that there's no reason. Sometimes there's no reason to have a battle. Right? So you say, hey, don't touch the TV to your little 2-year-old, right? And they go over and they go, boop, right? And they just look at you and they just turn it on. And I go, you're just like your father. What are you doing, right? And so then you go, you know, you give a little boop. I said no, and they're crying there. And then you just stand there like you're having a standoff, right? Yeah. And you go, I said no. And then they go, boop, again. Like you just get yourself in this battle you don't need to have. You can just say, hey, I said not touch TV. Give a little boop, pick them up, and then you remove them, and then you walk away. Well, now there's no battle. Now, if they go all the way back over the TV, well, then now that's really rebellious. But 99.9% of the time, once you've removed them, lead me not into temptation. Once you've removed them from that, then that happens. My brother got into that. I remember it. Like he was 3 years old, and my parents said, say please. He wanted a glass of milk. He goes, I want a glass of milk. And they go, say please. And he goes, I want a glass of milk. And they go, I said, say please. He goes, no, I want a glass of milk. So my dad spanked him, put him down, said, say please. Jason goes, I want milk. They said, say please. No. Gave him a spanking. They did this like 5, 6 times, like it was crazy. Until finally he goes, I don't want milk. And then and then everybody, my parents just gave up, right? And that's why you have Jason today. No, I'm just teasing. And so, I'm just teasing. But I remember that. Like they got themselves in a battle where they could have just gone, boop, put them in the room, right? And then and said, hey, when you want milk, just come and say please. I don't have to battle you anymore. Just come say please when you want milk. Alleviate that battle that is there. And so sometimes we can find ourselves in a weird battle when we don't need to, where you're just watching your kid instead of just picking them up and removing them from the thing.
And if they're like, 6, 7, 8 years old, make your request known and then allow your kid to surrender with dignity is what we've always said. Surrender with dignity. Like, I think a lot of times we're sitting there like, a hand on our hip and that knowing look in our face, like, well, I just know you're not going to do what I asked. Well, so is it any surprise that they then go and do what, you just knew that they weren't going to do? So make your request and then, show them that you have faith in them. Show them that you have confidence in your parenting. You have confidence in them. And if not, then we'll bring another level. But allow them to give you the obedience as you walk away. And let them, decide, okay, none of us like to be challenged or held accountable for something and then have the authority stand there and watch us as they're tapping on, the desk or whatever, waiting for us to just comply. It's like.
And I think as we got better, as we got more kids, I think we got better of, hey, don't touch the TV, and I just walk over and grab their hand and say, oh, let's go over here, rather than, just not even putting my place in a place where I have to give you a spank. Because bottom line is I don't want to spank you if I cannot. And so I found myself giving far less of those than I had. It's really reserved as you've gone through the flow chart and you're like, okay, right? And it's spankings, if they're done at 2, 3, 4 years old, right? 5 years old, 6 years old, it should become less and less and less. And we go through a very detailed there. But I can tell you this about what a spanking did in my life growing up. I can probably remember just about every one I got, and I got a good handful of them growing up. And I go through the process pretty good in the book. It has to bring pain to the child, especially when they get to the age like 5, 6 years old. That's when it kind of becomes more of I call it a ceremony, but more of a thing where I go, hey, they know. So if you're doing train up a parent, the child already should know. I'm like, oh, hey. Go to your room. Dad's coming up, right? And they know they already know what's gonna happen. And so off they go to the room. And so now I'm gonna come into the room, and I'm going to explain to them as we sit on the bed why we're at where we're at. Because I asked you, and you did, right? And we'll go through it, and this is why, and it'll be a good conversation with them, right? And then now I'm going to put them in front of me, and now I'm going to reiterate, and the boys make fun of it because I say, no more, right? And I was, you're going to do it again? They're like, no, I won't do it again. I said, no more, right? And I got them. Don't never shake a child. Of course, you never shake a child, but I'm firm, right? You're firm with the child on their arms, right? I'm not going to leave a brood, but I'm just firm enough to know that, I'm dad, right? And then I'll put them over my knee, and I'll give them about 3-4 slaps. Every child's different on this, just so you know this. Lakin, you can boop, and he's just crying. He's like, he's broke, right? He's just broken. The worst, so Heath's very first spanking like this, right? So I did it. I'm like, no more. And he's just looking at me, like, almost like, yeah, what do you got, right? And he was like, right? I put him on my knee, and I went boom, 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 right? And nothing. Like the boys got buns of steel, right? And I gave him a spank, and I put him down, and the same thing. He's like, is that what you got? And then I came out of the room. I go, honey, I failed. That was the worst spanking I've ever got. I didn't change. There was no direction change. There was no break in him. So the next one, I had to raise the level of the pain a little bit on his booty until he broke, and then I kind of realized the difference in it. And so I spank, put him down on the bed. I walk out of the room, right? And then I'll just wait outside the room just for a moment. This is important. This is very important in this process, that it's not a long time. I don't want them to sit in that. And especially with Lakin, because Lakin would literally hyperventilate. He couldn't breathe. I hear him, and I'm like, so I have to come in. I'm like, breathe, son, breathe. Get air. He's like,
There has to be restoration.
Very quick restoration for Lakin. I don't even think I even got out of the room. He's like, and so I come over, and now the restoration is the most important part. Love you. Hug him. Hey, I love you so much. I'm so sorry that what you did there is what we got to here. And so now I know that you're not going to do that again. And it's great. And it's crying. And you can feel it as you're hugging them. There's a moment that breaks. You know that rebellious is almost like a spirit on them. When they're rebellion, right? I've had that the example would be Lakin. Lakin had this thing where this one time he had a horrible, just out of nowhere, just a bad attitude. And so I'm like, go, right? And he just was, right? I don't even remember. It was about a video game or something. He had so I'm like, go to your room, he knew. And so as I was coming up to the door, I heard him. He's all praying. He's like, God, don't let my dad spank me, Lord. Don't let him spank me, right? And here's the thing, you have to know this. I already decided, he's such a good kid. I went through the filter. I'm like, I'm not going to spank him. So I sat down with him, and I said, hey, son, right? And I had a good talk with him, I thought. But there was no cleansing, right? He was literally right back to it again. And so it was, and so I'm like, go up to the room. He's doing the same prayer I came in. And he was almost cocky this time. He's like, he thought that God had this figured out. He's like, whatever, Dad, I already prayed. So his faith was shaken a little bit after he got a spanking when God did not rescue him from that one right there. But after the hug and everything else, he was a different kid. He was happier. He was back in. There's a cleansing of the rebellion that happens through a spanking done in the proper way, done with love, done in the right manner, done with the right talk, done with the restoration of the relationship, everything that we talk in the book. It is one of your most valuable tools. But if you do it right, you really won't have any to do after 5, 6, 7 years. Like I said, Peyton and Savvy have not had a spanking since I don't remember. They're like, Peyton's never got a spanking. That could be true. I honestly don't remember. Maybe at 2 or 3, a little boop on the booty, and that's about all that they ever got. And I'm going to share the Scotty patented pinch. Can I share this with you all? This is patented. It is bad. Because you're in a store, and sometimes a 3-year-old knows that they got you. I don't know how they already discovered that Dad doesn't want to be on TikTok, because you can't spank your child in the middle of Target. You all know that, right? Right? And so they're throwing their little fit and tantrum, and so I'll give them a warning, and I'll lean up, I go, you better knock it off. You're too loud. And they're like, whatever, Dad. Yeah, what are you going to do? And so then I go, boop, and I get a little pinch on no one can see. I'm just like, hey, and then you hear the scream go, ah! Right? You hear the scream a little bit, just a little. I brought a little bit of pain, just a little bit. It wasn't a big one. And then the next time when they're throwing and I go, you better stop. They stopped, because pain brings change. Just a little bit of pain changes direction. And that's all that we have to do is bring some pain into their life. Like I said, done right, done the way the book says, I'm telling you, it'll change direction. Anyone that has gone through spanking as a child and it was done right will be like, yeah, that worked. It always changed my direction. It's why I am who I am today. Same thing for my children. Spanking always changed the direction. And like I said, me and Holly, as we became better parents, then it was kind of that last resort. We became more creative. We became better with the F all the way through the F5. We became very good at those things. But there has to be, so you have to realize that, and moms, there's no difference for you also. But for a male and for a man in the home, as a teenager, I get a 14-year-old, there still has to be an alpha type of thing where they know that it's always possible, in a sense. That at 14, you think you're a man? You think you're going to, right? There has to be, I have to be the alpha of the home with my boys. I have to be, right? And that's important, that they realize and know that this is, you're going to treat mom, you treat the home, you treat me respectfully. If I ask you to do something in love, I need you to respond. And it just makes a happy type of home. But it was built on the foundation when they were 1, 2, and 3 years old. You may have a 7-year-old, you may have a 12-year-old now. You have a little bit of work caught up to catch up on. But I'm going to tell you, if you stick to the program and you do the things through the discipline, get creative, change the direction, you will train up a child in the way they should go, and they will not be able to depart from it. All right? And if you learned anything at all, give the Lord a hand clap. Give yourselves a hand. You did it. We're done.